You guys want to know a little secret? I think I was actually starting to believe in Pokemon Pokopia. Like, okay, there's obviously elements that are completely red lines for me. First off, the fact that it's a Switch 2 exclusive already means that I'm not getting the game. The fact that it's clearly a low-budget title being sold at the premium $70 price tag also doesn't sit right with me. I mean, gosh, there's better games to be played on your phone. Actually, on that note, the fact that this game looks like it should have just been a mobile game, but it's being sold at $70. And most importantly, the fact that for no reason in particular, it is a game that's being sold on a game key card. It's a first-party game, so they don't really have any excuses, and it definitely would all fit on the cartridge. And it's not even one of those situations where you feel like it has to run off of the Switch's internal SSD. There is really no excuse at all for this game to be priced at $70 and a game key card. But outside of all of those things, I was starting to believe in the game as a concept. Like, it's not necessarily my style of game, but it's the kind of game where I'm happy for other Nintendo fans that they'd be able to enjoy it. Especially with all of the first-party strikeouts of the last year. You know, the previews came out and it started to seem like this is a game that people that like this type of stuff would definitely enjoy it. The reviews came out, they started off with a 90 on Metacritic, currently they're at 88 and moving down with every score, but they're still a lot better than all of the mid games that were released last year for the Switch 2 first-party lineup. So I was like, what if, maybe for a moment, this combination of Nintendo and Koei Tecmo managed to finally make a Nintendo Switch 2 game Nintendo fans could be proud of? Something without controversy when it comes to the actual gameplay. The only other game that comes close to that is Donkey Kong Bonanza, but it was kind of ruined because people slowly realized it was a mindless button masher, and for some reason it just made others dizzy. And perhaps even worse, out of nowhere there was just $20 DLC that was added that clearly was just removed from the base game at launch. So they kind of soured the legacy of that title. And again, Pokopia, because of the high price point and because of the game keycard situation, it soured it early on, but you know, for somebody that's just looking for a downloaded game that's just digital that they're going to keep on their Switch 2 and they don't care about the physical aspect of it, and they've just accepted that everything's going to be $70 or $80 on the Switch 2, then, you know, at that point, there's really nothing to complain about. But unfortunately, with one day to the release of this title, we quickly find out that it has live service elements added to it. 13 hours ago on Pokemon.com, technically even earlier on the Japanese website, there was a statement released that you can play a limited time event in Pokemon Pokopia on the Nintendo Switch 2. In addition to the game's main story, there will also be special limited time in-game events in Pokemon Pokopia. The first of these, More Spores for Hoppip, will run from Monday, March 9th, 2026 at 1 p.m. to Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 at 12:59 p.m. During this event, you'll be able to befriend Hoppip, the cottonweed Pokemon. Special cotton spores that can be collected will also appear during this time. And then of course, there's the early bonus of a Ditto Rug. Now, as far as I am aware, you do not need to be subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online in order to access these events. Hopefully it remains like that, otherwise that could make it even worse. But in the meantime, the idea that this new Pokemon Pokopia game has limited time events, especially as a $70 title, just further adds to the idea that this very likely seems like it was meant to be a mobile game. Now, in case there's like Nintendo fans here that don't understand what a live service game is, it's basically the type of game that most of the gaming community, and especially Nintendo fans, have been hating on and saying that they were ruining the gaming industry. You might have seen something known as a live service game or games as a service. It's abbreviated as GaaS. They're basically games that are designed to be played for an extended period of time. They're continuously supported with regular post-launch updates, new content, and game events. And generally speaking, those are like one-time use it or lose it kind of situations. The whole idea of these games is to keep players engaged. Now, engaged does not mean fun or enjoyable. Engaged just means it has the ability to keep players coming back for more. And they do this by making you feel like you are missing out on something by not coming back to play the game regularly. Think of games that have daily bonuses. Or obviously, in this game, Pokemon. Oftentimes what happens with these games is it takes away the fun of just feeling like you are enjoying an experience, and it starts to make it feel like an obligation. They really start to prey on the feeling of FOMO that players tend to get. And it could hypothetically work in some games, but I don't know if a $70 Pokemon title is the one that it should be applied to. Like if it was a free-to-play game, you know, kind of makes sense. You know, you're not really paying anything to come in, they bring you in every now and then, and these events might have microtransactions. But for those free-to-play games, you didn't buy anything. So that whole gameplay loop where they keep bringing you back for more is kind of the payment. In this case, you bought a whole game, and that game is not available for you to play at your leisure. You play on their clock. Something that I have heard Nintendo fans argue until this year, I've heard it argued as of like a few weeks ago, was that Nintendo games are worth the $70 price tag more than every other company, basically Xbox or PlayStation, because you know that when you are buying a game for $70 from Nintendo, you are getting the full experience on that cartridge. Now, ironically enough, the full experience is not even in the cartridge itself, but to add on to that now, you cannot even collect everything on the game without signing on whenever they want you to. This was a similar thing that kind of happened in Animal Crossing. There was ways around it by changing the internal clock on your console. We don't know if that's going to be available here, but it seems to be the current coping mechanism that people are using. But even then, with Animal Crossing, you were talking about a few decorative items. In the case of Pokemon, this is Pokemon. The whole concept of this title, the whole enjoyable aspect of this entire franchise is collection. Whether it's in the game, in the cards, in the anime, and even in the spin-offs. The goal for the most part in every Pokemon thing is that you need to collect something. And that thing is generally Pokemon. So arguably, the main purpose of this entire game is locked behind a live service element. And it completely sours the thought of Pokemon Pokopia for me. And the double standard behind it is very uncomfortable, right? Like, this is effectively what I would say the third strike of this title. And these are three strikes that Nintendo fans have basically argued against and defended Nintendo for not applying these type of things into their titles in the first place. We already mentioned the $70 games. There's been arguments through most of last gen that Nintendo games are better because they're not unnecessarily pushing the $70 price tag. Well, this is clearly an unnecessarily priced $70 game. Nintendo games and the whole Nintendo environment is better in general because you have true physical ownership of every single game that you buy, because you can buy the game physically, it's entirely on cartridge. And now with game key cards, it's even worse than what Sony's doing, because on Sony, for example, the full data of the game is on the disc itself that you're buying. It's not an empty disc that just gives you access to the Sony store. You can buy that game without connecting to the internet and install it onto your console. But with a game key card, no, you have to be able to access the eShop if you want to download that title. This, historically, is a massive red flag. But there are many Nintendo fans arguing that it's not that big of a deal. And the ironic thing is that Nintendo is the console that most families buy for their children when they don't want them to connect to the internet. So now you have this game that's geared towards children that you plug into your console that's supposed to be for your children, and then the kids are going to go to their parents and be like, I can't play this game that you just bought me, we have to download it. It's going to confuse a lot of people. Historically speaking, that was considered one of the benefits of having a Nintendo console, that you didn't have to go through that hassle. And then finally, the live service element of this game. And it's wild to me because this is on the same day that we find out that Highguard is done. They're ending it. It is officially going to be shut down within like a week from now. And we look at this headline right here. Highguard's failure is emblematic of something that has tormented video game investors for years now. Past live service hits do not equal future live service hits. The failure of this game is considered a celebration through most of the Nintendo community, because they fall in line with the majority of the online discourse about live service games. They think they are heading towards the graveyard, they think that we should be moving away from them, they think that they are ruining the gaming industry. And yet, Pokemon is going to have these events, and they are celebrating it. It is the typical Nintendo double standard. And perhaps what makes this even worse is the journalists. A lot of these same reviewers that are giving this game's 8s, 9s, and 10s, they have docked off points from other games for doing similar things. Now, in fairness, I don't know when they were writing their reviews if they knew there were going to be limited time events like this. And perhaps this might be a big reason why Pokemon decided to hold that secret close to their chest. Maybe they figured the game keycard and the price point was already controversial enough when it comes to Pokemon Pokopia, and they didn't want any more controversy being leaked out. But I don't know, I think it's very dirty, not only for existing, but for announcing that this is going to be a part of this game, basically fewer than 24 hours prior to this game even launching. That means there are currently people out there that are completely unaware of this. For all they know, they ordered Pokemon Pokopia, they might have even preloaded on their Switch 2 already, they already paid for it, they've planning on buying it, they're not keeping up with the news every single day, and then after they've bought the game, they've already downloaded it, they started playing it, they find out that there are live service elements to this title. An otherwise relaxing game that they were planning to enjoy at their own leisure now is going to require a commitment from them to turn up at specific times if they want to collect all the Pokemon. And I don't know, something about that doesn't sit right with me. But then again, this is the same franchise that announced a $30 DLC available to purchase as soon as you bought Pokemon Legends ZA, and the fandom accepted that without a fight for some reason. And likewise here, with the apparent blind spot that exists towards Nintendo and all of its IPs, there seems to be little to no pushback about this pretty crappy element of what may have otherwise been a very pleasant experience. But I guess you can just add this to the long list of scummy things that Nintendo has gotten away with ever since the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2. In any case, thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you all on the next one.